said, Louis, before the game, Danny and Dave have put so much time into building this East Riding programme. They were Tier 3 champions last season. They've finished third in Tier 2 this year. Really, really good club that's emerging and really growing and going to have a big, big future in the game for me.
Forward down the line there with the searching ball for George Gibbons. Didn't quite find him though. Goalkeeper Richardson sending that one long for Clark. And what a splendid finish that is. Danny Clark is at it again for East Riding. 1-0 inside the opening minute.
And that's what he does. It's a great throw from Pat Richardson into him. Danny takes his first touch, is immaculate. He holds off the defender and he rifles one into that top corner. That is Danny Clark in an instant.
That's just reminded me of a conversation. I won't name the coach, but a top level coach in this country. He said to me, he said, my perfect game of futsal is where it just goes into the pivot, he turns and scores. That's it.
It sounds like Dave Lawty.
That might not be everyone's way of doing it, but you just saw how effective that was.
Forward there down the other end, and it's an instant response. And it's the skipper, Scott Hurd. And Kent to back level straight away.
Yeah, that was a really well worked move, wasn't it? And it was a brilliant finish because really didn't have a lot to play with there. And it's just picked it out perfectly, really cushioned finish.
And this is probably the weakness of having a pivot like Danny in the game, where Scott Hurd's been really clever, he's been intelligent, he's played that ball wide to the right hand side and then he's ran off the pivot and he's created that separation and give himself the room to get in there. The ball comes back in and it is a really tidy finish, isn't it? 1-1, game on, what a start.
I think with some players you've got to accept, what they give you and what maybe they can't give you. You've got to make that decision, haven't you? And obviously Danny gives you that, but as you pointed out there, that maybe the other side of it didn't happen for him there.
Charlie Dass there playing that one forwards for George Gibbons, but he then was held up, disrupted, and East Riding have the ball back.
But it's another great start to the game, and it just really tees it up well.
Keane with the forward ball there down the line to Luca Chadley. Can't win it back there though. There's options both left and right here. Streaming forward with players either side, and travelling with the ball there was George Gibbons. Couldn't find a teammate in the end. The referee says no foul. Might be a shooting chance for Dass, there was, but he dragged it well wide.
Wow, end to end. Couple of good opportunities. Firstly, Luca Chadley was probably a little bit, just delayed his pass too much. And then when they've gone down the other end, I felt there was just one touch too many on the 3v2, where he's almost limited the option he should have played. Come left, attack the second post, and you may receive that ball back for a tap-in, really.
Yeah, great recovery run there from Luca Chadley, because as you mentioned it, then he had a 35-metre run to come back and help out.
Captain and goal scorer Hurd took that one on the chest to begin with. It's out now for the kicking that will follow.
Yeah, I'd expect to see Scott Hurd and Charlie Dass especially play quite a few minutes for this Kent team. Both really good players and played a number of minutes as Kent really put up a fight at the back end of last season in trying to stay in NFS1. Yeah, okay, it was too little too late almost, but there was a couple of games where we were there, Isaac, commenting on where they've almost got big results. I remember one with Helvetia at one stage where they ran them really close, and it was late on in the game where they just ran out of steam, and those two players were influential with that.
Oh, given away there dangerously as well, straight to Clark. Clark was then just forced wide though. Forward for Chadley. Back again to Clark, and took the ricochet on the way through. I think the last touch came off Alex Keane.
And there's a big East Riding fan base here today, and you hear the excitement in them as soon as Danny gets the ball.
Fast forward first time. There to Gibbons again, but he wasn't able to collect on that occasion.
Interesting one with Pat Richardson. You may spot on camera he wears one glove as the goalkeeper. I've seen keepers wear fingerless gloves. I've seen keepers wear gloves. I've seen keepers opt to not wear any. The reason I asked him a couple of weeks ago, I asked him why he does it, and it's because he took an injury when he was younger on the hand that he wears the glove on, and he just feels more confident with that hand, despite wanting to be able to play and wanting to have that feel for the ball with his throwing arm.
I presume he's sort of tried taping up his hand and stuff like that.
I presume so, yeah. It's very unorthodox, isn't it? It looks almost like a baseball pitcher, but yeah, I think he's tried everything, and this is where he's settled on and feels most comfortable. But you'll see an interesting switch as well. Me and Stuart spoke about it yesterday. I'd expect Jordan Wildey to come in mid-half almost.
Good save there for goalkeeper Osborne as he denies the close-range effort from Yates.
Yeah, East Riding will sub between their keepers during the game quite often, which is, again, unorthodox, but effective for them.
It's something that Wessex do.
East Riding not getting that kick in right, but Clark tried to make the most of it in the end anyway. Just a shake of the head, though, from Danny Clark to Alex Keane in his direction, as that pair weren't quite on the same page. Cross now to Clark. Goalkeeper with the stop. Pakos and Osilaja in the two-man defensive wall across though to Keane. And an apology almost from Alex Keane as he just completely skewed that one well off target.
Yeah, that's probably one of the most difficult skills, is when the ball's going across your body, to try and get that timing right and the technique right.
Ken kicking around the halfway mark. Pakos. And again, but just behind Osilaja. Thereabouts 4 minutes played. It has just settled down a little since that explosive early start. One apiece on the scoreboard. Forward and all the way up again to Osilaja. Runners either side. Tried to bring into play Turan Pakos. Couldn't quite find him though. No foul, says the referee, and quickly tells Clark to get back to his feet.
You're going to have that all game, as you touched on earlier, Louis. It's that fine margin between what contact is allowed against a big physical pivot and what isn't. What Danny will do is, in those situations, he will go down. He's been open with it. We've heard him talk about it openly on their social media. He will go down because he feels he needs to be able to win those free kicks. And let's be honest, when there are, if you can win the free kicks and build the pressure with the foul count, it's massive for the game.
Not far away, that. It just flashed over the top of the crossbar in the end. Kieran Towner with the effort.
Yeah, I mean, Osilaja isn't exactly the smallest player on the court either.
Clark down the other end, trying to make inroads into the Kent defence, appealing for handball there, I think, but it was more of a hopeful appeal than anything else. Clark in battle for it again, and does get the decision by way of here the kick it.
Kent just need to be careful how open they leave Danny on that fix. They almost need to try and secure some sort of cover, and can they stop that ball coming into him?
Well, you kind of beat me to the point there, Matt, because I was going to ask you, you're going to be in Tier 1 next season and you're going to be playing against some pretty good pivots. Someone like Danny and probably Osilaja, the problem they give you, why aren't teams bringing that wing into cover and just decide, well, I'm happy for the wing to have the ball than to let Danny Clark 10 metres from goal have the ball?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit naivety perhaps, Louis, in this country with coaching and also players, where they almost go man for man on a press, and sometimes just setting up with that like 2-1-1 and that wide almost screen can help, can't it?
Big battle for it there, and Clark in the end was fouled. It was right beneath the nose of the referee. Bruffel on the far side, and in the end Matt Bruffel did blow his whistle and gave the free kick. It was a full-blooded challenge, and then the follow-up challenge as well. There was a couple in quick succession in there.
Yeah, I think it was the follow-through that I think the rest probably had the problem with.
That's 2 Kent fouls now. All the way across, and it was swept goal-bound again by Clark, and on the follow-up. That time, though, Jordan Osborne with the save.
He's enjoying himself, isn't he? You're seeing a lot. Everything East Riding are doing, he's going through him. Not been off the court yet. It'll be interesting to see how he sustains his minutes at his age. They'll be open. They're missing Reece Butterworth today, who's cup-tied, who's almost their alternative pivot option. He's a big blow for them because he offers such a foil almost to Danny, and it's just exactly the same option. They just put him in and he does the same job, but a much younger player.
Back there to Clark again, but off target with that particular effort. And it's a full line change there, a full change of the on-court quartet for Kent.
What's interesting is Kent have now set up in that like 2-1-1, and Danny's not in that position. So they've almost set up in that the position that I would probably choose to try and shield him when he's not on court. So whether that's something that they've worked on with this 4 while they've been off, and it's something they'll implement moving forwards, I don't know. But I wouldn't imagine that East Riding will be as effective playing that way while Danny's getting his breathers.
Yeah, and when he returns to the court, let's see how they set up then.
Hurd there having brought the ball forwards, back again to Scott Hurd. Harry Gibbons trying to find a way through and down the line. Gibbons places the ball down on the line, then took the kicking back to Hurd. That pair trying to link up again. And kicking.
Yeah, that was an ambitious ball played into the middle of the court there, because that was travelling a long way for him to go and retrieve it, and the defender was already matched up with him.
Hurd misfiring on that occasion in search of Dast, I think, at the second post, but it was well wayward of him. East Riding to reach this stage. They beat Sporting Club Southend 4-3 in their semi-final, and it was a 5-3 win for Kent United against Loughborough's B team. Both fairly narrow margins of victory. Asking for a foul there, the Kent bench, but I think it was a hopeful appeal, really. Referee Matt Bruffel just gesturing to indicate that he felt it was more of just an honest coming together. Bogdan. Back to Bogdan again, and then across to Keane Skelton. Giving away their centre court, but again it's an overturn of possession, and that might spell danger for Kent, but it's an excellent recovery with the slightly challenge. How about that for a tackle?
Yeah, he's got to time, isn't it? Scott Hurd there. Get that wrong and you're in all sorts of trouble with East Riding in a 2v1 situation. Really well-timed challenge.
Definitely a high degree of difficulty on that one. That's got a high tariff to it.
Couple more changes being made by the Kent boss Ryan Jaguars. Kieran Towner and Turan Pakos are both reintroduced. Where is Pakos now? Happy to go back to the captain. Pakos that time with a loose touch. It was well covered though and sorted out by Towner. On the venture forwards again, Richardson just came right to the edge of his penalty area, and in the end the free kick has been given for the challenge on the defender, and he was sent bundling into the goalkeeper as well.
He's done well there actually, because I thought he'd put himself in almost a no man's land position, not come far enough, but got something on it, and obviously the contact was there afterwards, so good decision from the referee. Pat Richardson got away with one, and just now just looking to my left hand side, and Jordan Wildey's preparing to come on. Fantastic feat from Jack Yates there to draw that foul. He's another one of the young players who East Riding have brought through. Had a really good season, been really explosive at moments during the Tier 2 campaign, and he's someone who has a really bright future in the game.
Yeah, that was one of those really horrible passes for defenders.
Oh, given away there. That was a nasty pass as well. Dast! Big chance, but a big chance which comes and goes.
Yeah, that was a really dangerous attempted pass there. Dast cut it out, and I think his teammate was asking him to square it, but I'm not sure it was on.
Forward back down the line and then into a central position, but that will then allow East Riding to try to kick-start a counter-attack. Kent do just need to be careful as well now, because they're on 4 fouls and there's still a substantial period left to play until half-time. We're not yet at the midway point of the first half. Bogdan on the turn. Now Pakos though. Dast on the turn, and that one in the end just flashed across the face of goal, but nobody there in red.
Yeah, this game's it's gone into a little bit of a cagey phase, hasn't it, Matt?
It has, and it's probably what we expected after such a lively start. Both teams have almost found each other out a little bit, and they've probably just settled into some form of rhythm. Both making a few sloppy errors and not wanting to give things away, things like that, where a little bit scrappy, isn't it? And just really neither team getting the ascendancy or taking control of things. So be interesting to see what happens when Danny comes back onto court, because I think that they're obviously East Riding's best moments. He's having, after a long spell on, having a really extended breather. He's probably earned it.
Towner in search of Dast, but couldn't find him. An option to the left as well here on the counter-attack for East Riding, but Yates opted to go alone.
Yeah, we're starting to see really too many turnovers here, with the lack of quality in some of the passing.
Oselaja trying to clip that one through, and the backward header could have, on another occasion, proved to be problematic. Pakos there with the delivery from the corner. It wasn't the kindest though to the captain Hurd. Clark is back on and ahead of the ball at the moment. His way now, and he did manage to keep it in play.
Ronaldo's there, he's got to try and come out, hasn't he? He's got himself in an area where he's almost trapped. Get that ball backwards, go back down the court to create that space and pull Kent out. Sorry, Isaac, spoke over you there.
Yeah, no, just a good challenge from the defender as well to get his toe in and get to the ball on that occasion. Louis, what have you made of the game so far? We're approaching the midway point of this first half now, of course, with that explosive start. It has settled down since then, but I think, as Matt mentioned, probably that was to be expected as Clark goes on the turn again but can't hit the target.
Yeah, I think with Danny Clark coming back on, a lot of East Riding's plan is going to be around Danny, so it's going to be how they manage his minutes, and maybe it's no coincidence that with him off the court, the game for East Riding has gone into a little bit of a lull. But Kent, again, they're not quite firing as they were in the first few minutes of the game. So as I said, it's just got a little bit scrappy, and maybe a timeout's needed here to try and just refocus the aims of both teams.
Yeah, I just feel that in both teams, they're getting themselves into areas where they can, maybe that next pass would create something. And situations like what we've just seen there, where the final pass just isn't good enough, isn't it? It's almost a little bit rushed, a little bit panicky. And sometimes...
Dast, good footwork, and he wants it back as well. It went back towards Dast. It broke out then to Pacos. Still there for Towner. Good moment that for Kent, but in the end, nothing coming of it. Certainly a warning sign there, though, for East Riding, and the danger signs would have been flashing on their radar.
It's a fantastic save, isn't it, from Jordan Wildy as he comes back across. Had to be on guard, had to be alert. He does, and his team live to fight.
And I do think Kent needs to find a way to get Dast in the game a bit more, because he is causing problems.
Clark took that one in his stride, then tried to almost turn what I think was initially meant as a shot into a second post ball. Dast forward with the parallel ball to Pacos. Ahead of the ball at the moment, Pacos, and needs to get back. He's back to his feet and doing so. Oh, great work there to get to the ball, Connor Taylor. Then, though, robbed of it by Towner. Clark. And Clark goes for a goal. Just stings the palms of the goalkeeper, though, and Osborne was equal to his effort that time around. That's a foul. And that also is the fifth foul.
I think that shot did more than sting the palms. It actually forced him to the ground. There was so much power in it.
Really good shot, isn't it? You know, in a wide area, as a coach, you ask your player just to hit the target and hit the target hard in those situations. Danny Clark has done that there. Keeper stood up well, made a fantastic save, but it's one where, yeah, as you say, forces him over. And as we spoke about, the timeout put in by Dave Lorty here, Louis, just as a chance maybe to have that little bit of a reset and just a think and just break the game down. They've got Kent onto 5 fouls. They're in a situation now where they could have some joy with this, because they could, from everything we've seen so far in this game, you would imagine Kent are going to foul again, because they're just struggling with that physicality of Clark and a couple of the others, Jack Yates and Luca Chadley, who will go and impose themselves.
Yeah, and I would definitely be thinking that from the goalkeeper, clearance, restarts, they're going to be thinking, let's get the ball into Danny Clark. Can we engage that contact? Can I get a foul? Or, his preferred turn, spin and shoot. But I think certainly, they'll be looking for the goalkeeper now. There's a long way to go here.
Well, it was the goalkeeper direct to Clark that was the route to the goal for East Riding before the equaliser, and referee Isfan Mod just making certain that those on the Kent bench are aware of the fact that they are on 5 fouls. It's a very fine line to tread now. Into Clark again. Every time just has that intent to receive the ball to feet, one touch out of his feet, turn and shoot. Larger, not dissimilar down the other end. Same outcome though, with it being off target.
Yeah, similar to what you were saying with Charlie Dast earlier, Louis. Emmanuel Asalaja, we've seen at times he was really, really effective against some really intelligent players. in NFS1 last season, and Kent just haven't got him in the game as well as what East Riding have been doing. But if you can get him in back to goal and isolate him 1v1, he's a real presence and a real threat.
Keane trying to feed that one through. Referee just making sure that the Kent defenders are back the required distance, as it was set back there for Clark. Then looking for the return ball back into where Alex Keane had made the run to. Clark forwards again, and that time it is held on to really well.
That's a really clever restart there from East Riding, with the kicker just running the ball and then protecting it as Danny Clark ran forward, and that allowed him to get into a really good position down the right hand side of the court. I like that a lot.
Simple, isn't it? But effective. And I think sometimes we can overcomplicate the game as players and coaches and think too much about these things, and often the simple ones are the ones that you'll get the most joy from.
Again, it's another attacking kick in here for East Riding. Again, it's a two-man defensive wall in the setup for Kent as they defend it. Not working out that time. Kent now trying to play through and break through the lines, but unsuccessful. Yerkstis. Now Clark with his back to goal again. Yerkstis had that room created for him and obliged in taking the shot on, but definitely not the conviction behind it that he would have hoped for.
What's really nice there is a passage of play where we can see East Riding can play as well. There's some really...
Osalaja on the turn! Good save, really good stop there from Jordan Wildy.
Yeah, and I just paused because for the first time Kent have got that ball in, haven't they, that we've just been talking about. Osalaja pins his man, controls it well, and on that turn gets his shot away. And as you say, Isaac, a really smart stop from Wildy, who had to be alert.
Oh, it's cannoned in there and against the upright in the end. Would have taken something special to beat the goalkeeper from that sort of angle as well. But against the woodwork nonetheless. Here's Connor Taylor. Went for the return ball as well, but that was cut out on its route through. Referee there starting the 4-second count. Clark on the venture forwards again. Defender went sliding in and Clark did well to check back. It seems like he's riding looking the more likely.
Yeah, that was a great example there of like the disguised feint.
Osalaja there just losing his footing. Clark in close attendance to it was able to then collect. Keane. Again, it's another stop from Jordan Osborne.
It's a really smart stop as well, isn't it? Opened up well for Alex Keane there, and he controls the strike well, hits it with a lot of power. Goalkeeper had to be alert and had to be on hand.
Taken short there, but the angle was acute. Again, though, likewise for Keane, and that time it was cut behind everybody in yellow and black. It's another full line change of the on-court quartet there, made by Ryan Jagger. Gibbons there has made a good run off the ball. He was the intended target for it, but it was equally well defended from Yates back there.
And I was just about to say, I felt the game had gone a little bit flat again, so I'm not surprised to see the timeout being used by Kent now, and Ryan perhaps looking to just spark his team back into life as we approach the final 5 minutes, 5-6 minutes of this half. Really scrappy the last couple of minutes, so can they just add that little bit of quality that could get them maybe a goal before half time and take that lead into the half time break?
Yeah,
6 minutes just over to play when we resume. Sorry, Lou.
No, just as they came in there, I think I may have heard Charlie Das say, why have we taken the time out? So, maybe the players felt it wasn't necessary, but with 6 minutes to go, both coaches have burned their timeouts now, so it's going to be interesting to see what their approaches are. Are they happy to stick or twist here between now and half time? How much do they want to gamble and get another goal, or are they happy just to see this out and then make it a 20-minute game?
Yeah, well, just a reminder that we do, of course, have the potential for this one to go the distance all the way through extra time and to penalties, should we still be level at that stage, but so much futsal still to be played until that comes into the equation. As the players return back out onto the court, and we'll restart again. Dast. Long throw out from Wildy. Forward looking for Yates, see if he can collect it. Did well actually, Jack Yates.
Yes, yeah, he did really well, because it was a loose pass, wasn't it? And he managed to keep it in play and ended up winning the kick-in for his team when, to be honest, he had no right to. So good area as well.
Yeah, he was definitely second favourite for that.
Right across the face of goal and nobody there at the back stick. Had there been a player at the second post, then, well, surely there would have been a second post tap it.
Yates had just emptied that space, actually. He was in there and he's made a run out to almost create some space, but if he just held his ground, or maybe had a second movement and a dummy movement to go back in, as you say, Isaac, it was a tap in, wasn't it?
Opportunity here for his riding right across the face of goal again, but that time agonisingly just too far ahead of Yates.
Yeah, I think Chadley made the right decision there, because the angle flattened off for him, so I think he did the sensible thing to put it across, but they just couldn't quite get on the end of that one. That was a really good chance.
Chadley couldn't quite keep the ball in play on that occasion.
And again, Matt, there's 2 or 3 occasions where Kent have just tried that diagonal ball and it's been cut out.
Dast does the pivot there, but it's East Riding coming back down the other way. Chadley to the left, and the referee quickly turns away and he appeals for a foul, and in fact the yellow card is going to go there for simulation. It's showing the way of Yerkstis.
Do you know what, that's a really good decision from Isfan Mud, because we saw there Ronaldo, he's looking for that, isn't he? The whole way he's looking to try and cause contact, looking to try and go down and try and make the referee make a decision. He's not having any of it. He's giving him the yellow card. It'll make every player on the court think twice about doing that moving forwards. Just going back to what you were saying with that diagonal though, Louis, again, it's almost like a lazy pass, isn't it? That they see it, everybody knows that it's on, but you've got to make that. If you're playing it, it's such a dangerous pass going back the other way that it needs to be played with a pace and a purpose.
I mean, one of the things we've spoken about, Isaac, is obviously playing on a full-size court, and if you're playing on smaller courts, 32, 34 metres and maybe 16, 17, it's just totally different. The perspective you're passing, it's just a different game, and players have to adjust to that really quickly.
Yeah, on the big centre stage here at St George's Park. It's a full 40 by 20 metre court here.
Used to be bigger as well. Really big court to play on, and used to catch teams out. I think England shortened it, didn't they? You probably know better than I do, Louis, but we found it really hard as a nation sometimes playing against some other well-drilled nations and more experienced futsal sides when they came here. They were enjoying it.
Chadley inside the penalty area. Seem to be edging closer and closer, East Riding, but without being able to find the game's third goal and their second.
Yeah, they moved Kent around really nicely there and opened up the opportunity.
Maybe a chance down the other end though. Hurd, and the goalkeeper judged that one to perfection. He had to. Now away down the other end, it's Chadley! Well, chance not taken at one end, but well and truly taken at the other. And it's Luca Chadley for East Riding, 2-1.
What a fantastic moment for him there. From one end, Jordan Wildy, exceptional save. Scott Hurd desperately unlucky, perhaps just stretching for it a little bit as he broke through. Then it was fantastic from Jack Yates on this right-hand side. He rides the challenge from Charlie Dass. Dass couldn't bring him down. 5th foul already. And then once he finds that pass, Luca Chadley made no mistake. Great finish.
Yeah, moments of the game again. And as coaches, we talk about finishing or finalising the move. Kent didn't, but East Riding certainly did.
Clark robbed of possession that time. Won it back though. And forces the goalkeeper to make the save. Tenacious as ever, Danny Clark. Down the other end now, it's Gibbons. Gibbons! Good stop. Had to be alert there, Wildy. Just as the angle opened up for George Gibbons.
Tell you what as well, Kent were fortunate there because on point with what you've just said, Louis, they've not finalised the chance, and then from here Danny hasn't come back. He was still recovering from being down on the floor and he decided to gamble and stay in, and if they found that pass he was wide open with the whole half to himself.
Latest scorer Chadley on a venture forwards again. Was asking for a corner there, but goal clearance was the decision.
Suddenly in the last minute and a half or so, someone's pressed the accelerator button on this game.
Dast. There's a runner to the second post as well. Dast still with it at his feet. George Gibbons. Now Towner. Up to Dast. Appealing for handball, but it was more of a hopeful appeal, and now Clark is set on his way again. Back to Clark on the rebound. Didn't quite fall favourably where it might have. That's a let-off though for Kent.
I think if I was Danny there, I'd be asking more from Michu to come with me.
It's all action here at the moment. Charlie Dast. Kent looking to hit back and find what would be their second equaliser of the game. Not on that occasion.
But yeah, just going back to that last East Riding chance, Danny powered forward and there was a 2v1 opportunity where if Michu had continued and gone with him, it gives the defender something to think about. He stops and it allows him to force Danny wide and into an area where, to be honest, Kent would be happy defending that, I would imagine.
That's a really good defensive challenge from Hurd. Skips inside past the challenge, but no foul given. That's another save for Osborne. They were certainly asking for a foul that time.
Perhaps not the cleanest quality of games, Louis, but it's certainly entertaining at the moment. As you say, the accelerator button's been pressed, hasn't it? And it's hell for leather.
Yeah, I think for the coaches there'll just be too many turnovers here.
Yeah, very frantic, no real control is there from either team.
Yeah, we've turned into a bit of a basketball game here.
Back down the line to the original kick and taker. It certainly felt like something was brewing. And this is what that was, this explosive last couple of minutes or so. They're given away there in a dangerous position in their defensive third and straight to Clark. Clark on the turn again.
It's a really poor decision from Scott Hurd there to try that pass when it was very telegraphed, wasn't it, to coin a football term, but really easy for Danny, and then they've sort of crowded around him, but again, they didn't want to make a challenge on him. I didn't feel they can't afford to, and in the end he was probably unfortunate not to hit the target with his shot.
Yeah, I mean, 3 players, and it was kind of after you, and allowed him to get the shot off.
No fortune for Skelton that time. We're into the final 2 minutes now until half time. Kent, remember, still on 5 fouls, and as the intensity of the game creeps up and up, then that's potentially an increasing risk factor for them as well. Clark will look to go alone again. St. Ancombe adamant that he was fouled that time by Arsenal, but got the shot off anyway. Since that early opening minute strike, Danny Clark just off target with a succession of efforts, and he's come off limping as well from that, moving gingerly. Maybe just a clash of knees between Clark and Osilaja.
This breather will help Kent. Just to settle, just to slow the game down. East Riding got up ahead of steam, hadn't they? So with minute 20 left on the clock, I think it's important for Kent just to ride this out and for East Riding not to score again.
I think Kent have really got to look at some of these restarts where they're just allowing the ball go into Danny Clark as the pivot. And that last one from the kick in, it just went straight into him. There was no player in line with the ball to block that.
Yeah, he's far too easy, and they've made no secret of the fact all game, have they? And it's the foul.
Definite foul, and it's a needless one really to give away too. It's going to bring about the opportunity from the 10-metre penalty mark.
Really silly challenge that in that situation. No danger. Danny's just holding the ball up. Just see him protect the middle of the court and force the ball backwards. But great opportunity here for Michu, the captain, to put his team 3-1 up.
And I think it's our first 10-metre penalty of the weekend, Isaac.
Yeah, certainly. We haven't seen one of these as of yet. But the opportunity then for Masaya Michu Bogdan. Here from the 10-metre penalty mark. He'll take it right-footed. And it's saved by goalkeeper Osborne. Big stop. And you just wonder how crucial that could prove to be in the greater context of the game.
Yeah, that was a very good save. Came out, shut the space down, read it to his left-hand side.
On the turn inside the penalty area, Skelton. A big save at a big moment made by Jordan Osborne. And it's not the first in this game as well.
I always think with them 10-metre penalties, they're difficult, aren't they? Because it's not a big target to hit from that far out, and when the goalkeeper can come forwards to the 5-metre mark and close down that space, that's a painful one.
Bast with the ball back inside. This is promising now for Kent, back into a central position via Kieran Towner. There's a man here down for East Riding in their own defensive penalty area.
Yeah, that will have been a painful one. Took one where you don't want to take one in the run-up with that move. But just going back to that penalty, I always feel that you should shoot high if you can, because they're the areas where it's most difficult for the goalkeeper to reach, isn't it? Obviously there's a risk to it if you go high or you go too wide, but just pick your spot and shoot high. I think sometimes when they go low, it gives the keeper half a chance when he's allowed to come forward and close down that space.
I think also it's the technique as well. You know, I think when you look at European, South American futsal, the way the players really strike the ball, you know, the power that it generate. I'm not quite sure we have that yet in English futsal, that technique to really threaten the goalkeeper.
Oh, struck that one sweetly though. Towner from a long way out, but it certainly tested the goalkeeper. And they've won it back as well in a promising position. It's going to be a corner as we close in on half-time. 11 seconds of this first half now, all that we have left. All the way back across, here's Dast! And it's a big save at the other end from Pat Richardson. Santos That the last opportunity of the half. The buzzer sounds to bring it to its conclusion. Another really entertaining watch so far. East Riding with this narrow advantage going into the midway point. Matt, what have you made of this first period?
I think he's been a terrific game. Perhaps not the quality that we saw in the first one in terms of pure futsal, but what you've seen is East Riding implementing a game plan, playing to their strengths, looking to utilise Danny Clark, and it's taking Kent time to work that out. As Louis pointed out earlier, they need to think about their restarts and how they're going to protect themselves a little bit more, because Danny's finding far too much joy with getting that ball into him and then being allowed to play off. For Kent, they have players that can hurt East Riding. They have to get in those players on the ball, and they have to utilise them better. For me,
I think for Kent United, it's the problem is, how do we solve a problem like Danny Clark? And at the moment, they're kind of all his strengths. They're allowing that to happen. So it's getting the possession into Danny Clark to stop that. So there was a kick in there where literally the person who took the kick just allowed the ball to go straight in. The first line defender was not in line with that player, so that allowed that, and then from once the ball goes in, then anything is possible. And also I think the cover has to be better on Danny Clark. You know, you almost have to sacrifice. We're going to give up that wing to come in and just filter it, or the fix has to get in front and decide, right, I'm going to attack this ball, and then anything that goes over, the goalkeeper needs to deal with it. Now, whether Kent United have got that confidence to do that or prepared to do that is another question. But if they keep allowing the ball to go in there, ultimately Danny Clark is going to make something happen. And if they don't solve that, I think it's East Riding have got this.
Yeah, I think that it's an interesting point, Louis, because when we played East Riding here earlier in the season, and we did exactly that. We put our fix in front, and we were able, with either fix that was on court, to stop him receiving that ball and make it a really physical game, but where he was fouling. The second time around when we played them, he was much smarter, and he was able to try and work into that space a little bit more, and he often played off centre and allowed another player to come in and try and create that space for him, and it took some time for us to work it out. But so far here, it's been relatively simple for them to stop for me, and they've just got to defend it better. And as you say, be prepared that if that ball's going to go over your head, you know the goalkeeper's going to do it.
And I think the final point for me is, if we're looking at how can this game change, you know, Kent have to find a way to get Charlie Dast on the court as much as possible, because I think everything positive coming out of Kent is via him. His movement off the ball is good. He's creative with the ball. He's able to create space as well with his pass and his movement. And I think that's the equation for Kent, that they need to work out how they do that, how they get him on the court a bit more, because they've definitely had some chances, Kent, but I think that's probably for me where we are in the game at the moment, if I was a coach at half time on either side.
Yeah, as we're taking a look at all of the highlights here, Danny Clark very much involved in a large majority of them in the East Riding attacking sense, and Kent have had their fair share of opportunities as well. Pat Richardson with a save towards the end of the half. Wildy, when on court, had to make a few saves likewise. That big moment there though with the penalty, which was saved by Jordan Osborne, I beg your pardon. Big stop, and as I said at the time, you just wonder how big a save that could prove to be, because it almost just gives Kent a new lease of life moving into the second period now. Games sometimes change on moments, and whether this game will change on that moment, we still await to see. But there's the half-time score here at St George's Park at the midway point. It is East Riding 2, Kent United 1. Welcome back then to St George's Park, here the home of English football, but today we have the National Futsal Series to bring to you, and here at half time of game 2 of the day in the Men's Plate Cup final, it's a narrow 2-1 advantage for East Riding up against Kent United. We wait to see how this one will change and develop as we move into this second period, and well, we have had a pre-planned half-time substitution here in the commentary box. Matt Hardy has departed the scene and Stuart Cook has joined me and Louis Melville. Stuart, good to have you here for this second half. Commiserations on the game earlier as well. Really tight game that one was. Here it's another tight game from what we've seen in this first half, and still very much all to play for in the second period.
Yeah, thank you. I was just watching, caught a bit of the first half, and there were 2 unbelievable goals to start the game, and it's been a really entertaining end-to-end game, and to be honest, both teams look really physically strong and getting up and down the court really well, so it could be a pretty feisty second half.
Well, underway then at the start of this second period as Kent attack the goal to the right in this second half. Forward there for George Gibbons to try to catch, but he couldn't.
Stuart, one of the things we spoke about half-time was how to deal with a problem like Danny Clark, and they kind of seem to be leaving that ball straight in, although they had the cover there that time.
Yeah, I think we talked about yesterday with their development team, and they're quite open and obvious in the way they like to play. They like to have a fixed pivot, and Danny's got great ability, and I think what's really important for Kent in this half is that they do try and negate that. I think one of the more obvious things they can look to do is just set the starting position when the goalkeeper's got it a little bit deeper, invite them to play short, and then if they do go long, they're in a closer vicinity to make a 2v1 or to double up on Danny and help out that fix.
Short there from Richardson, and Chadley here, scorer of the crucial goal so far. He's giving the ball away that time though, was under pressure, now Hurd! And it's blocked away before reaching Pat Richardson in goal.
Yeah, on those last 2 restarts, they seem to, I think it's George Gibbons, number 7, he's dropped a little bit deeper and to cover that throw in front of Danny.
Yeah, it looks like
the goalkeeper spilt that one. It's an error, and it's an error which is pounced upon, and it's Turan Pakos for Kent United. Well, it's a big mistake, but Kent won't mind about that. We're back level.
Yeah, it looks like a mistake from the goalkeeper. I think he's not quite got hold of that one, and it's dropped at his feet, and to be fair to him, he's just readjusted his feet really well and slotted it home. Just going back to that point made earlier in terms of the restarts, I think it looks like Kent have made some adjustments at half time, and instead of pressing in sort of a 3-1, they've dropped into a 2-1-1, which will allow them to close that central ball off into the pivot a little bit more easily and make it a little bit more of a danger for East Riding. Hopefully they can step onto things and get some positive transitions off it.
Kicking here for East Riding. It's again that combination of Keane and Clark in the close vicinity of it. Kent trying to play through the lines and play forward from the back, but Chadley there has robbed them of possession. It was a recovery really from goalkeeper Hannaway.
Yeah, he did well again. The keeper there had come out and just shut that space down, stayed big, didn't turn. Good deflecting surface.
I'm looking forward to see East Riding set pieces today. We had a good discussion at dinner with Danny Clark and Dave Lawty regarding the B teams, and by all accounts the B team don't really do them properly, so let's see if the senior team can show them how it's done.
You're taking notes on this, aren't you?
If they don't work, I might have a little bit of a go with them after the game.
Alex Keane there, foul. Can't remember having conceded that 10-metre penalty in the first half that wasn't converted. The foul there again. And the free kick that will be here for East Riding.
Yeah, it's a big moment here. We were speaking to Dave Lawty last night, and I I think despite all the bluff and all that, he's just actually, Stuart, he's just a cuddly teddy bear, isn't he?
Yeah, he is a bit like myself. He's all bark and no bite.
Clark then stands behind this one as the obvious option to take. Does take across there for Yerks. This, I think, was the intended target, but it was cut behind him too much in the end.
Yeah, Dave not too happy with that one. I think he was. I think the person at the back was supposed to hold out a little bit for the 3 in line.
All the way through there to Keane, and Clark sends that one forward. It's Yerks. This. It's over the bar though.
Yeah, some good link-up play there. A really delicate pass by Danny Clark into the right wing there.
Yeah, I think you can see that he's got more than just his physical frame and his physicality to rely on. He's a really intelligent player. He uses his body well, but at the same time he can pick a pass, and as we've already seen today, he's got a great strike on him.
Are we straying into good feet for a big man territory here?
No, we're not going that far.
Taken back there to Alex Keane. Now Clark again in a more deep lying position. She found himself in. Hurd. Clark with the positive first touch again, but he then was disrupted. Really good challenge from Alex Keane, and he has 2 options here. Couldn't find either of them though. What a big moment that could prove to be. Had an option to the left and Clark to the right. Now down the other end, it's there for Dast. Again Dast! Side netting. Big moments.
Yeah, a couple of really quick transitions there, and ultimately really poor decision making from a couple of the players. Alex Keane running through on a 3-on-1. Really what you want to do is try and give it to your teammate as quickly as possible so they've got time to assess the next pass. He delayed and they ended up in a negative transition.
I think this came up in commentary yesterday, Stuart, about taking the touches you need, not what you want, and just that sort of decision making absolutely kills the team, doesn't it?
Yeah, of course, and ultimately what you want to try and do is to try and engage your defender first, but when you've got the full half to play in and you're in a 3 versus 1, actually if you can find that pass early and give the teammate the option to take the shot or to find the additional pass, you give the defender more of a problem to make.
Still very early stages of this second half, still inside the opening 3 minutes of the second period. There to Towner. Now Santos. Santos collecting and assessing all options again.
Yeah, this is probably the least frantic we've seen the game today. Probably the first bit of extended possession for any team. Kent have done really well to work it into a good position.
Yeah, we're seeing Das go off now, Stuart, but we were talking in the first half that generally the good things were happening when he was on the court for Kent.
Yeah, I think himself and Scott Hurd are the 2 players who, from Tier 1, they stood out last season. Although Kent didn't pick up a win, they got more competitive as the season went through, and those are the 2 players who obviously Kent have kept hold of, and I know Charlie Dast has played a huge part in keeping the club sort of going. So they're the main threats, and you can see they try and keep at least one of those on court at all times to keep that little bit of experience.
Hannaway there, the goalkeeper, momentarily just stepping forward into the attacking half. Osborne, of course, having played the entirety of the first period, but Hannaway on from half-time. Oh, excellent flick back there to Santos. Just couldn't quite get the shot away, though. It looked as though he might have been able to. Clark down the other way again, and Danny Clark that time finds the net.
Yeah, really real driving run from Danny Clark there. I think Hannaway will be a little bit disappointed that he sneaked under him, but he's made an early decision that he's going to drive at the defender and take the shot on. And it might take a little nick on the way through, but again, Danny Clark showing he's a real threat.
Yeah, I think you're right, Stuart. I think there's probably a slight deflection as it went between the players' legs, but which might have just put the goalkeeper off. But again, that's a real positive run from Danny Clark, as you said, and he's made something happen there out of nothing.
Yeah, I think sometimes in those decisions, making that early decision and committing to that decision, it allows your teammates to assess the situations off it as well. So once Danny sets off on that run, he's not looking for support. You know, he's made the decision. He's going 1 versus 1. He's going to be looking to get his shot off. Maybe somebody get into the second post, but it means they don't overcommit as well, and they don't have to think about the negative transition sometimes.
Towner there saw his ball into the penalty area, blocked away in close proximity.
Carl Wilkinson there just trying to get involved in the action.
Back to Towner. Hurd up to Santos. Jonas now on Kent to respond again. It's a game which has swung one way, then back the other, and now in favour of East Riding again.
I'm looking forward to seeing how Cian Skelton does today after watching him yesterday, and you know how he performs at this next level up, because I was really impressed with his ability and his ball carrying yesterday.
Yeah, not the result that East Riding wanted yesterday, of course, with their B team, but on track here. Although they've got defending to do at the moment, as Hurd just stepped inside, opened up for the shot on his left foot, but couldn't test the goalkeeper.
As you spoke about a bit earlier, Stuart, on Hurd's, where that ability to drive and then cut in and get the shot off.
Yeah, what he did really well was he recognised that the defender was closing the line off, and he drove centrally, and then it's about his decision making of can he find a pass or does he take the shot on, and he was unlucky to not hit the target.
And they're trying to break away. It's a heavy collision centre court. Bogdan was the man involved in it for East Riding. There's a Kent player as well who has here stayed down. Turan Pakos just getting back to his feet.
Yeah, just looking at the clock, there's only 5 minutes gone, but the first 5 minutes of this game has been played at a real frantic, intense pace, and it'd be interesting to see whether either team drop off or who's got the stronger bench as the game progresses, and how long the key players like Danny Clark and Charlie Das can play.
Well, Danny Clark asked to come off, and he just said 1 minute to Dave Lawty, so I should imagine that 1 minute's going to be a little bit longer, but yeah, he has put in a decent shift there.
Yeah, and I think it's important for both teams that they take their opportunities to get breathers in possession.
One back there in a very promising area. Goalkeeper right to the edge of his penalty area. Great challenge there on Yates. Now Connor Taylor though. Taylor wants it back. It never quite came his way. A couple of opportunities in there though for East Riding. Yates with the first and at the heart of the second as well.
Yeah, he's just miscued his shot there, and potentially maybe it might have been better looking at the second post as Taylor carried on his run.
These transitions, they're great for the crowd, but probably from a coaching perspective, it's not what you want to see.
I mean, it all depends on your style of play. You know, we spoke to Dave Lawty last night, and they do like a direct kind of game, and we watched the B team yesterday looking to play in transition quite a lot. So it's obviously something they're quite comfortable with, and I think in contrast to the way Bloomsbury played against East Riding's development team yesterday, Bloomsbury wanted to control the game, they wanted to slow the tempo down and dictate play a little bit more. I think Kent are quite happy to keep playing East Riding's game, and ultimately it'll be a decision on who can score the most transitions throughout the rest of the game.
Yeah, 6-1 the Bloomsbury C team beat East Riding's B team yesterday. Taken well there on the chest, around the corner as well. Again, the promising moments continue to flurry here for East Riding, but just lacking that final piece of quality. Yates, well blocked.
Yeah, I think East Riding will be quite happy with the last couple of minutes. You know, they've taken a couple of the more senior players off in Danny Clark and Alex Keane, and the four that are out there at the moment. I've got Kent pinned back into their own half. So, you know, they'll be really happy that they're getting a breather, but at the same time they're still building pressure and they're still creating chances.
Phases like this really important where you're controlling the game and you're quite happy to control the tempo of the game, and you get your key players to rest, but really important that you do have that control.
Well, it's given away there and they might not have much control for longer. It's Dast. They do have bodies back now. Just thought for a moment it was going to open up there for the clear route through on goal for Charlie Dast. Didn't quite work out that way. Back to Dast again here. And the shot was fired in and it's forced to save.
Well, the commentator's curse really smashed me there, didn't it?
No, I think you're right though. I think both teams, you know, the score's only 3-2. There's plenty of time left in this game. I think the last thing they want to do is give a cheap one away. You know, East Riding there, they set the set piece up, but you know the decision making and the quality of the pass is poor, and it's allowed Kent to transition the other way, and that's one thing that East Riding really will want to avoid.
Foul given there for the overzealous nature of the block on the corner. Fine line between what is and isn't allowed on a corner block like that, but that one judged to have been just the wrong side of that line.
Yeah, Danny Clark back on for East Riding, and you see straight away as soon as he's back on court they look to play a little bit more direct and get the ball into him.
Clark the receiver from that kick in, and right throw as well for Bogdan.
I think one of the things to maybe think about for Dave Lawty and East Riding is that their set pieces, they commit two players to the second post, and then they also send a runner, and you also have a player taking the kick in. So if the shot is blocked or it isn't connected right, actually you're potentially taking 2 or 3 players out of the game and leaving yourself really open to a counter attack. You know, at 3-2 up, maybe they need to look at a slightly more conservative set piece where they can just keep the ball, dominate possession, and not necessarily run the clock, but just control the game a little bit more.
Searching ball forward there for Louis Kemp to get after. Referee on the far side has given the foul. Near side official to begin with signalled for the goal clearance, but better position. Matt Bruffel on the far side felt there was enough in that to award the free kick.
Yeah, Kent will be wanting to be careful about running this foul count up too quickly. The last thing they want to do is give East Riding the opportunity to have a 10-metre penalty and score an easy goal. They want to really make them work for the next opportunity that they get.
I think it was 7 or 8 minutes, wasn't it, in the first half, where they were on 5 fouls, although they only conceded the 1 and resulted in a good save. It's not an area where, as you say, Stuart, you want to put yourself into.
No, of course not. And as you go into the second half, especially chasing the game, you'll want to keep high pressure. If they run the foul count up, then they really make that a lot more difficult to do. Last thing they want to be doing is to have to drop off or to worry about, you know, giving away a cheap one high up court. So they'll want to reduce those for the next few minutes and really save them and when they need them, and they're going into that full court high press and, you know, chasing the game.
Keane Skelton now back to his feet as he's going to be replaced, at least for the time being, and Keane is back on. Short stoppage in play, but looks as though we're ready to resume once we have a match ball. Still over 12 minutes left. And just the one goal between the two teams on the scoreboard.
Oh, they gave the foul to Kent. I thought they'd given it to against Kent. Shows how much attention I'm paying.
Yeah, it looks as though it went that way. It was certainly a dubious decision, one which I think could have gone either way, probably. It was a coming together, which is probably why East Riding were arguing their case on it. Nothing coming of the set piece in the end, and we move forward in the game, but yeah, the foul having seemingly gone that way.
Yeah, I think the less I say about the referees today, probably the better after our game.
I've got my finger on the dump button just in case.
Don't worry, I've composed myself by now. Me and Paul had a nice chat after the game, where I told him everything he'd do wrong.
Heard there going on the overlap, but not receiving it back. To the intention, but not the execution. Still to come today, of course, we have the two big playoff finals. The women's Tier 1 playoff final over on BT Sport 1 as Bloomsbury go head-to-head with London Helvetia, and then the men's showpiece event. Bloomsbury again involved in the action against Manchester. A repeat of yesterday's cup final. And it's Kent here bringing the ball forwards. Dast. Nice return ball as well. It's a bit of a heavy whack for the goalkeeper, but he did his job. Did enough there to deny George Gibbons.
That was a really brave save from the keeper.
Yeah, and just before that save, I'll wait. Sorry, just before that save, you see the reason Jordan Wilder is important for East Riding as he steps into the court and plays a great breaking line pass for them to create their own chance at the other end. And it'd be interesting to see if he starts to do that a little bit more.
Gibbons there with the ball back, and once again George Gibbons receiving, but that time the wrong side of the white line.
He's been a really good addition to them, Jordan Wilder. He started the season as head coach of Sheffield, and since he's come into East Riding, the results have picked up, and I would imagine a player of his experience has been really good for the young players around both sets of the squad.
Keane couldn't feed that one there past defender Louis Kemp. It's finely poised though, and difficult to judge which way this one will next swing.
Yeah, Kent dropping really deep here. Like I say, it wouldn't be a bad thing for East Riding to just leave Jordan Wilder out and potentially just play fly keeper for a few minutes and run the clock a little bit.
Clark there on the turn once more, and the effort from the skipper Bogdan.
Yeah, you see the strength there from Danny Clark holding 2 or 3 players off, and a great little turn, and again a good decision. Unlucky with the finish.
Yeah, I guess it's really interesting to see how much time is spent with teams preparing to play fly keeper during training.
That's with the shot.
Yeah, from a personal point of view, we look at it a fair bit. As I say, from a personal point of view.
Well, you're the fly.
Well, from both teams, so from a senior and a development point of view. Obviously, from our first game with Southampton, we had an idea that it was going to be quite a tight game, so working on the fly was important.
Comfortable collection that time for Hanaway.
But we also like to look at it in case of situations like this where we can bring somebody out and everybody understands the role and is quite comfortable, and that we can control the tempo of a game. We don't like to play in frantic games. We've got a lot for the development team specifically. We've got a lot of young players, 16, 17. So it's important that if we get in a physical end-to-end game, that we try and take that pace out of it. And sometimes using the fly for 60 seconds, 90 seconds can really bring you back in control of the game. And like I say, from a personal coach's point of view, it's something that I value quite highly.
.11 to play as Kent again drop off, and Wildy once more stepping forwards but then retreating back. It's been given away and presented straight back to Dast. Pecos checks back, uses Santos up again to Charlie Dast. Manages to bring the ball under his spell that time, but then had to try to improvise.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, Kent are dropping really deep when Jordan Wilder does come and join in, and I'm not sure he needs to rush the ball back to Alex Keane. I think they can take a little bit of time and almost draw Kent out. I think trying to force that pass through the central area with four deep Kent defensive players is probably going to put them into a bit of a problem.
Santos. Still Santos. Straight to the goalkeeper though, really. One which he would expect to save. Now Yerkstis up to Chadley. Options back in the centre if he can find either of them. All the way across to Alex Keane. It was blocked on its way through by Turan Pakoz.
Yeah, I was just looking at Danny Clark to see if he was about to come off, because in that last attack he started the move, but there was no intention to run forward, and it took a little while for the other player to join in to make it a three players in attack.
Yeah, I think we mentioned it earlier. It'd be key for both teams and how fresh they can keep their players throughout this sort of last 10 minutes.
Backhols again here for Kent. Dast, who's actually the president of the club as well. Forward again, here's a Charlie Dast. Receiving end of the ball forward, through to him. That's the kick in.
Yeah, Kent are making some really nice pictures and some movements, and Charlie Dast is key to that. I think he's got great individual ability as well. You can see that he's really comfortable in possession. His movement's good, he's sharp, and it'll just be about getting him in the right position at the right time.
Yeah, again, he got himself in a really great position here to offer up, but they chose not to take that option.
Yeah, I don't think Kent will be too worried at the moment. They're not conceding too many chances, and they're also still creating a few. As the game wears on, they'll want to put a little bit more pressure on and maybe build a little bit of pressure from some of their own set pieces, from kickings and corners, and sort of really test the younger lads from East Riding.
Backhols up to Dast again. Saw Kent use Osilaja as the pivot a lot in the first half. He's not been on court, I don't think, in the second period. Chadley. King trying to skip inside, but he was halted in his progression. Santos under pressure. Then swept forward by Dast, but only straight back to East Riding, and Yerkstis. Dast with it once more, and Kent with comfortable possession now.
Yeah, you can see a few deep breaths from Charlie Dast there, and he'll want his teammates to just control the game sometimes, so he can get a rest in the game, so he doesn't always have to go off court. You can see that I think he's just called for a timeout, a substitution as well. So the players around them need to help and manage the situation.
Here's Packos, bear it down on goal, but couldn't feed it past the goalkeeper Wildy. Close, but not quite close enough.
Could he have taken that a bit earlier, Stuart?
Yeah, I think so. One of the things I try and tell the young players all the time is the closer you get to the goalkeeper, the harder it becomes. Futsal goalkeepers are excellent at smothering and coming in and around your feet. I think what you need to do sometimes is find that distance where they're not quite set, they're not smothering, and you've given yourself options to maybe lift it, to slot at either side of them. The closer you get, the harder it becomes. They close the angle down, and unfortunately the goals aren't as big as they are in football.
Good away there to Luca Chadley. Good recovery challenge though from Packos.
And in terms of the mindsets of the players now, 8 minutes to go roughly, and timeout coming in, and the finishing line is starting to come up there, and you're thinking about 8, 7, 6, 5 and so on to go. If you're East Riding, what's your approach? And if you're Kent, what's your approach?
So I think from East Riding's point of view, you're probably having the discussion here about in terms of game management and the decisions and making decisions for the game, and not necessarily in terms of what you might do in a normal situation, or you might have done 20 minutes ago. It might be that if the ball comes across to you and you can feel the pressure's coming a bit hard and you can't see your next pass, that maybe the decision, the ball goes out of play, the ball goes forward. Alternatively, what they probably need to do is to start coming under the ball a little bit more, offering support for the player in possession so that they don't get so isolated, and that they can stay connected to the game, so that they've always got opportunities to find a teammate, and that they're not, like I say, being isolated in those 1v1s where mistakes can happen. I think you saw that in the last game for us. We got isolated a couple of times and gave a couple of cheap goals away at key moments, and like you say, the next few minutes is really key for them. From Kent's point of view, I think they probably need to get a little bit more pressure on, probably need to go a little bit more individual. They'll want to make sure that the fix is marking in front so that the direct ball isn't so obvious, but at the same time they want to make the most of the opportunities where they do get players like Alex Keane at the moment, who's playing fix, isolated in those 1v1s, and try and put pressure on his decision making.
Back to the action here as we resume following that timeout minute, but not the restart there that East Riding and their goalkeeper Wildy wanted.
Yeah, you see there, East Riding have sent 3 players really deep, really forward. if they don't get that first pass right, they leave themselves really open to a transition that they don't want, and they've taken 3 of their own players out of the game, out of their own doing. And these are the kind of moments where actually you probably need to look at your set pieces, and if you need to change them to deal with the game situation, maybe that's something Dave Lorty needs to do.
Osilaja now on here as Kent pivot. Bakos with the setback. Osilaja was lurking around that second post area there as it was struck by Connor Wright.
Yeah, that was a really nice set piece from Kent, and probably unfortunate that we didn't squeeze that set back into the second post.
Taken down brilliantly there by Clark. Keane cutting through the first line, bypassed Osilaja. This is promising for East Riding, but blocked away the effort from Yerkstis.
Yeah, I think you see the danger there that if Kent don't have a conversation with their fix to tell them to mark in front and make it really hard for Danny Clark to get the ball into his feet, they're going to have a long 8 minutes as they start to press higher up court. They really need to be a yard, 2 yards in front, force the goalkeeper to throw it over them, and trust that between yourself and the goalkeeper that you'll deal with the longer ball. If it goes into his feet, it becomes a much more difficult game.
And I guess if that's not a way they've normally played, it's going to be really difficult for them to start doing it now. If you don't normally play against a pivot like Danny Clark, difficult to implement.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not aware of what many of the southern teams do, obviously being in the Northern League myself, so it's the first time I've seen Kent this year, but it's pretty obvious at the moment that they consistently want to mark behind in terms of a football way, as though the danger is there. Actually the danger is the ball going into his feet. If they throw it over your head as a fix and he scores an overhead kick or a first time volley, okay, he's already scored one today, but that you kind of hold your hands up and say, okay, that's a one-off. It's going to be the exception, it's not going to be the rule. Whereas if he keeps consistently getting it into his feet with runners and the ability that he's got to turn, you're more likely to concede that way.
Given away there and presented straight back to Keane. There's another chance on the follow-up, but it just strikes the outside of the woodwork and goes wide. Yerkstis it was who had the shot there for East Riding.
Yeah, East Riding being really aggressive in the way they're defending here, trying to make sure that Kent have trouble getting the ball forward.
Bakos. Intercepted by Yerkstis, who set away and over halfway. Good recovery though.
I think it'll be really interesting to see how East Riding deal with positive transitions. You know, there comes a time in a game where actually the decision to turn back, start again, let Kent drop off and keep the ball is probably a better game management decision than going into a 2v2 or a 2v1 and potentially giving the ball away and then conceding a negative transition. One of the things I talk to a lot about our young players, and we covered a lot with the England under-19s, is that even when you're in possession in a positive sense, you always have to have one eye and one sort of idea of what's going to happen next. If you give the ball away, are you in a position to stop the negative one so that you're not overcommitting?
Osilaja here holding up the ball, hitting the kick in two.
Is that something that the players have to own? Because although the coach can say that, you know, and you've experienced that as a coach, tell them one thing, but then they go out on the court. You know, how much of that have they got to own? All of it?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think there's probably a message that Dave can give them, and the coaching staff and the more experienced players can give them. But again, yeah, ultimately it comes down to individuals and recognising what's important here. Is it important to go and potentially exploit a 2v2 where you might give the ball away, or is it important that we're leading 3-2 with 6 minutes to go, actually turning around, keeping possession, controlling the game, and slowing the tempo down and taking that sort of franticness out of the game is maybe the right decision and more important.
Taylor just there, as we saw on the replay as well, just flashing that shot just wide from the set from the kick in. Clark, I think, just asking teammate Yerkstis just to calm the game down a little bit at this stage, approaching the final 5 minutes, just under 6 left to play.
And that's probably the thing you just meant there, Stuart, where he could have just taken a touch and played a simple pass out.
Yeah, again, at some point your decision making has to be beneficial to the team in terms of the clock and the scoreline, and not always about going to score the next goal.
Definite foul there on Dast. It's a relatively central position as well here. The resultant free kick. Tanner takes forward down the line, back into a central position again there for Pacos. He was the man who scored in this second half for Kent when it was presented to him on a plate really, with the error from the goalkeeper.
They got it into the danger zone, just couldn't find the finish.
Yeah, I was watching Jordan Wildy there set his walls up in his players, and one key message that he said to them was really important. It was stay inside the game, stay inside the goal. Alex Keane was drifting and drifting and drifting, but no, ultimately what you want to do in that position is make sure you protect the goal first, so that if the ball does come into that area, you could smother it as a goalkeeper and as outfield players. So Jordan did really well there.
Dashed forward first time. Pacos involved again, who seems to have had his minutes increased as the game's gone on. Keane might use Chadley on the overlap. Does break now for Luca Chadley across the face of goal. Happily seen wide though from the goalkeeper's point of view there.
Yeah, I think you see there the experience of Danny Clark. He was next to Alex Keane when he started that break, but he didn't go and join in. He just made sure that he controlled the centre of the court, so that if it was given away, that he was in a good position to stop the counter.
Pacos set that one back. No route through though for George Gibbons. Really well defended.
Yeah, that was some clever play there.
Yeah, Chadley done really well in the short stints he's had. I've been really impressed with him. He did really well as a sort of a bit of a pivot in the corner earlier to create a chance, and then that 1v1 defending was good. You know, he got his body in, and then once he recognised which side the pressure was coming from, he turned himself out. Really good.
Referee just wanting a word there with Pacos as well, but no further punishment, just a talking to. Keane across, and it just about made its way through here to Chadley. Blocked before reaching the runner at the back stick, and Kent Hero away on the counter. It's 3v1. It's Charlie Dast back across. Excellent stop, excellent block. Well, how about that? The save to begin with, and then the block from Alex Keane in the aftermath.
Yeah, I think you see the dangers there. You know, East Riding send 3 players forward, and they end up having to do a full 40-metre sprint and some great emergency defending to get blocks in. Great save, and I think Alex Keane got the final block in as well. In fact, it may have been Alex Keane doing both.
I think it was a double block, wasn't it? Looking on the replay. It's an unbelievable piece of defending.
Yeah, we saw one with the chested block this morning, but that was incredible from Alex Keane.
You know, the whole scenario that came there, that's the kind of things we've been talking about in terms of East Riding trying to manage the game. You know, they send 3, they send one to the second post, one to the corner, and then they have ultimately what is a relatively tame shot that ends up in them having to do that kind of emergency defending. And you know, the score's only 3-2. Sometimes taking the shot isn't always the best idea.
Yeah, we spoke about it this morning about, you know, finishing the move, finalising the move, so that they can't launch that counter attack, and that is a big problem when players take a weak shot and then you concede possession. Yeah,
exactly. And like I say, especially if you're going to commit players forward, and you know, time out here, and hopefully Dave has a few conversations and says, look, you know, we've got 4.5 minutes to go, make some game management decisions. The chances will come. I don't think they need to force them and overcommit to them. And likewise for Kent, they're probably going to want to start pressing a little bit higher. They've still got the fouls. You know, they'll probably start taking a few more risks. And East Riding now just need to be patient with those positive transitions and let Kent come on to them.
Yeah, I think we're looking at fly keeper here for Kent United, judging by the apparel change.
It seems as though that might be the case. Well, Kent will feel that they perhaps need to change something to change the course of this game. It looks as though it's George Gibbons there with the fly goalkeeper's top on. That decision being made by the Kent boss Ryan Yago, and whether that will prove to be the route through this stubborn East Riding defence, but they've certainly had their opportunities, Kent. Definitely now poses a different question of that East Riding defence if Kent are to go fly goalkeeper.
Yeah, they've got some really intelligent players, Kent, as well. You know, we've mentioned Charlie Dest a few times today, but if they can get him in the ball with a little bit of space, his decision making is generally pretty good. You know, we saw in the last couple of chances where Alex Keane made those blocks, you know, he took a touch and he found somebody who was in a better shooting position than himself. And like I say, I think that'll be important. If they can get the right people in the right time with the right amount of space, then, you know, they could really cause problems here for East Riding. Not sure how often, you know, East Riding will have come up against fly keeper. You know, they've finished reasonably well in their league, so it might be that they're in positions where they might not defend it too often.
So 5v4 then, fly goalkeeper in possession. Here, being played by Kent United. What's been given away there though, that's really dangerous. Got away with it. Towner it was who gave the ball away, but made amends.
Yeah, Kent won't want to take too many risks too early. There's still 4 minutes on the clock. There's a lot of futsal still to be played, and I think if they're going to go into fly, they need to be really patient with it for the first few minutes, and they don't want to be putting it at risk. You know, fourth goal could really make it difficult.
All the way across there from Chadley. Goalkeeper called into action. The outstretched right palm. Urging the regular goalkeeper off there so that the fly goalkeeper can get back on, but he needs to get back in net quickly. It's a lunging challenge, and the referee judges it fairly.
Yeah, good recovery tackle there, but again, Kent causing their own problems. I'm not sure they need to rush to get it into the fly. You know, they want to do it at the right times. Wait for your kick-ins, wait for your corners high up, and don't take the risks too early. Last thing you want to do is give that fourth away and put the game out of reach.
And as you say, Stuart, you know, there's about 3.5 minutes in the game, but in reality that's probably 7 or 8 minutes in running time.
Yeah, of course, and also what you have to consider is that once they get into the fly, if they take their time with it, they'll run the clock a little bit quicker.
Into a very dangerous area, and the goalkeeper was forced to just readjust and react to that. It was from very close proximity. Clark here on the overlap, he receives it now. Yates was an option, likewise Chadley, but Clark still has it. It's still Danny Clark, there's a defender down at the moment. Yates trying to just screen to open up a space there for Clark to utilise.
Yeah, Danny Clark doing exactly what we've been talking about for the last sort of 5 minutes in controlling the game, not overcommitting himself, and ultimately running what is 30 seconds on the clock, and East Riding are still in possession.
Towner just right on cue, winning that one back all the way across. It's an opportunity if Hurd could have got there. Ultimately he couldn't.
Yeah, Danny Clark deciding to do some doggies there on the right wing.
Yeah, he's probably not done them for a few years.
Well, really crucial moments of the game now. Each forthcoming moment with an ever-increasing amount of importance.
Yeah, it's really important now for these next few minutes that East Riding use the depth both ways, both with the pivot to make the game long going forward, but also with their fix and their wingers dropping deep and really stretching the game and using the full court to keep possession. You know, make it really hard for Kent, make them work hard, utilise the full space, the full court. It's a big pitch here at St George's.
Yeah, and I think Danny Clark's looking for another quick break if he can, maybe 45-second, 1 minute break for the last knock into the game.
Canaway forward here into the attacking half. Now Dast trying to change the angle, did change the angle, worked the shooting angle, and forced a save from Pat Richardson.
Yeah, great bit of ability there for Charlie Dast to create that shooting opportunity.
Fly goalkeeper back on. Gibbons, it was blocked by his own man, still there though. Now Dast, and they forced it in. Kent United are back level. And it's Charlie Dast to bring us back all square.
Yeah, great persistence there from Kent. They just couldn't quite, East Riding couldn't quite deal with that. And it's paid off for them. Brilliant finish by Charlie Dast. He's probably going to get a yellow card for the shirt celebration.
In fairness, if I looked like that, I'd probably take my shirt off as well. Kent have done really well there. They kept the ball alive, kept it in the danger area, and a great decision, I thought, from Hurd on the edge of the box not to take the shot on and find the additional pass.
which is what you spoke about earlier, about maybe not taking that shot, and that one extra pass then really does open up the opportunity, and the power of Dash shot as well got it over.
Yeah, goalkeeper made a good effort, but it was the angle and the power probably just beat him, just enough to go past him.
And now it's Kent with their tails up and with the momentum. We're into the final 2 minutes of regulation time, of course, and with the prospect here of this one heading to extra time. Keane. All the way through.
Yeah, set up for a really interesting last 90 seconds here.
Harry Gibbons. He's seen the ball taken away though. Yerkstis. Bogdan. Skelton.
Dave Lorty there just looking at his bench and asking who's ready to go. Danny Clark put his hand up and he's back on court after, like you say, probably about a 45, 60 second break.
Once again taken short, and taken short to Danny Clark. The challenge, and Clark will see that one back to his goalkeeper.
Like you mentioned, Isaac, I think Kent are the ones with the tails up here. They look a little bit more up for this last 60 seconds, and East Riding will look a little bit tired, a little bit leggy.
Clark with the shot on the spin. Clark holding it up that time, back out to Keane Skelton. Clark on the turn again. Couldn't that time find anyone in yellow and black. And it's Kent to break away. Hurd defending to do here at the moment for East Riding. Into the final 40 seconds, it was a long range strike opted for there, as Kieran Towner took that on.
Yeah, again, another tame shot from East Riding results in a negative transition. They really need to try and avoid that and just see this game out and regroup for extra time.
Hurd forces the intervention from the goalkeeper. Will we have last gasp drama here in the National Futsal Series Men's Plate Cup final? Skelton. There's an overlapping run as well. It's still here. Keane Skelton! Oh, saved away, and on the follow-up, it's a good double save. Well, I thought for a second that was going to be the moment for East Riding, but to the rescue there for Kent, goalkeeper David Hannaway.
Yeah, I mean, the first save was good, but the second save was even better.
Yeah, I think the second one's one for the cameras, but it's great reactions, and I think Keane Skelton's done really well to drive inside, and like you say, two really good saves.
Yeah, I think it was more the recovery to get himself into that second save position.
Yeah, it moves well for a big lad, as we mentioned before.
Short from Hannaway that time. Now it will go long. Up to Das. 10 seconds. It looks as though we're heading for extra time. That one swept out by Mosea Bogdan. Referee on the near side just halting things, holding the game. And that kicking will be retaken. You can feel the tension here at St George's Park. Towner has to be quick. It's off target though, and that will now surely be that.
Yeah, he got hold of that, just didn't quite have the accuracy to find the target.
Well, there's the buzzer. And we're heading for extra time. Nothing to split between the two teams in the regulation period. It's 3-3 after the 40 minutes. Louis, a thrilling game, and still more to come as we head towards extra time.
Yeah, I think as Stuart said, Kent, and you said, Isaac, they're probably the more energised at the end of that, but they've got a few minutes now to trying to reset themselves and think about their approach. But there's some tired legs out there. Danny Clark's put in a massive shift. He's facing another 10 minutes of extra time, and they've really got to think about that. And does Fly come into this, as you mentioned, Stuart, about trying to rest on the ball? These are the questions that the coaches have got to ask themselves.
Yeah, I think again, from a personal point of view, I think I would probably be utilising Jordan Wildey and his ability with the ball at his feet and trying to get him to join in a little bit more, even if you're only doing it to break a little bit of pressure and again take that energy and intensity out of the game, especially from an East Riding point of view, because as we mentioned, they do probably look the more tired of the two squads. Obviously Alex Keane and Keane Skelton played for the development team yesterday and played a lot of minutes, and Danny Clark's played a lot of minutes today. So Kent looked like the game, the way the game's played out, it looks like that giving them that second win, and I think they'll just keep trying to play the same way. I don't think they'll look to use the flag goalkeeper unless they need to, but there's a lot of futsal still to be played now with a full 10 minutes.
And those 10 minutes, both teams on 3 fouls, and of course the foul count stays now as it is through extra time, so that might be a factor with some tired legs out there and some mistimed tackles or connections. We might see something in that area as well happen.
Yeah, it's not actually as high as it potentially could have been at this stage at the end of the second half. 3 each on the foul count and 3-3 on the scoreboard as well, of course. 5 minutes each way in extra time, and should we need them, it would then be penalties to decide the winner. And so difficult to call as well, isn't it, Stuart, at this stage, given the way in which the game's been played. It's swung one way, back the other. Kent finished the stronger of the two teams, but for much of that second half in particular, East Riding were very much at the forefront and could have scored more goals.
Yeah, I think for the first sort of 10 or 12 minutes, I think East Riding looked relatively comfortable. And then, as you say, as Kent got a little bit, started chasing the game a little bit more, they got a bit more aggressive in the way they defended, and they started to cut off that direct ball into the pivot. And also, ultimately, you're seeing Danny Clark looking a little bit more tired, so he's now less of a threat. He's finding it a bit more difficult to keep hold of the ball, win all the physical battles. And each time he goes into one of those physical battles, it's tiring. Like I say, with another full 10 minutes to go, how effective will he be during this extra time period?
Well, here we go then. Extra time is now upon us. And we will have another coin toss with the two captains in the centre circle. And it ultimately comes down to this, a game of 5 minutes each way to decide whether we can find a winner or if we'll need penalties. Interesting now, isn't it, Louis, because Kent was so aggressive at the end of that game, even after they'd scored the equaliser, intent on definitely trying to get the job done in regulation time. That didn't work out for them. It's interesting their mentality now moving into this extra time.
Yeah, I think you just have to reset, and it's a 10-minute game now, and it's time for the big players to step up.
Yeah, a couple of interesting things for extra time for anyone who hasn't watched is obviously the foul count doesn't reset, but at the same time the coaches no longer have an additional timeout, so they'll only be able to talk to them at the half time of the extra time.
The challenge there from George Gibbons. Left there on the line for Keane, and it wasn't far away from Yates.
Yeah, that was a well-worked move there. Just Yates couldn't find the connection.
Yeah, and I think in sort of the last 10 minutes we've seen East Riding go back to probably a more conventional look at their set pieces in terms of trying to put the ball in the box, put it in the danger area, and ultimately do what Kent did to them, which is force a mistake and keep the ball alive.
Because they're crowded out, but did well actually to escape that situation, or at least release the ball from the situation that he found himself in. Long forward, direct down court. It's a big opportunity that for Jack Yates. Golden opportunity in front of goal, not taken.
Yeah, it's an unbelievable first touch. Been really strong to create the space. Maybe a foul, might have been a little bit soft, but his first touch was excellent. And then he probably just snatched at it a little bit.
Hurd. Yet another block. Packles there with the corner. And the block is penalised there. George Gibbons tried to just play the block to open up the shooting opportunity for Hurd. His effort was off target anyway, but it is a foul.
There's a couple of times we've seen that the foul given for the blocks. I think it's just been a little bit too aggressive, and you know, one of the key things with blocks is that you stop attacking, you stop running into the player as they move, and you sort of just take their space and allow them to run into you. Otherwise you do run the risk of giving a cheap free kick away, which again with 10 minutes to play is not something that Kent will want to be doing.
Yes, that forward movement into the player, that's what's going to draw the attention of the referee.
Yeah, of course. What you want to look to do is that you want to probably set yourself, half a yard just off them, and basically just stop them from attacking the space behind you, not necessarily run into them and create the physical contact yourself. You need them to create that physical contact so that it's not a foul by you.
Set short there for Alex Keane, but again it's just always rising over the bar. Certainly take plenty of shots he's riding. They're not afraid to shoot from those sorts of distances, and they have been off target with many of their efforts today.
You see the difference there. Alex Keane makes his starting position in front of Charlie Dast, and when the ball goes in the air he puts himself in a position to get that first contact. First contact's really important.
Goalkeeper here forward into the attacking half. Hurd. Long diagonal! Oh, what a goal! It's finished off at the back stick by George Gibbons. Had the goalkeeper beaten, and Kent have turned this one around.
Stuart, I was just about to ask you about the front player in that defensive position there. Was he too disconnected?
I think they were a little bit unorganised. Obviously, Kent had split the goalkeeper and the fix into sort of a two, which means he'd sent three forward. And what they probably needed the pivot to do was to force the direction of play down one side so that he couldn't keep going back and forth in that 2 versus 1.
An opportunity at the other end as it bounced back off the goalkeeper. It was there for Jack Yates, but he just couldn't quite keep it down and sort his feet out in time to do so. Here's Yates again, the referee playing the advantage. Shooting chance, it's dragged wide. That there though, as the rolling foul will be indicated, the 5th foul against Kent United, so that's a tightrope that they now have to walk.
Yeah, just going back to that goal from Kent, and obviously I think there was a couple of things that East Riding could have done better, but ultimately, when he played the pass Hurd, I thought he probably made a poor decision to look for that diagonal. It didn't look like it was on, and I think the fact that he's overhit it and probably put a little bit of air on it has actually made it find its destination. And to be fair to George Gibbons, it's a great header at the back post, and you don't see many headers in futsal, but barring in, you can't really ask for much more than that.
Keane that time got his head to it. Now Hurd. Santos blocked on that occasion. Yates away on the counter. Still Yates! Oh, what about that? It's 4-4. And what about that from a strike from Jack Yates?
That is absolutely top class. That real positive drive, and then the finish across the keeper to the far post. That is an unbelievable finish. Little step over that we saw, and then complete power, Stuart.
Yeah, we mentioned it earlier in Danny Clark's third goal. He made the decision early. He's committed to the drive. He's put the defender on the back foot, like you say, giving himself a little step over to find the half a yard, and the strike across the goalkeeper is exceptional. Pace is just giving the goalkeeper no chance really.
It's a simply sensational cup final. And now he's riding the side with the momentum in their favour. How quickly things can change.
Yeah, I saw one of the East Riding fans on the far side. He had his shirt off and waving it in the air.
Yeah, he didn't quite have the same body as Charlie Dast, I'm not going to lie.
Santos after it. Keane though, happy to just see it out.
Just a note on Alex Keane over the last couple of minutes. I think he's been excellent in that fixed position. I was a little bit disappointed to see that Kent sort of, once they scored that that fourth goal to go 4-3 up, they started to go really direct, and what I was hoping for is that they would look to use their ability in possession to slow the game down and do what East Riding didn't do for a majority of that second half.
Well, asking for handball there, but no decision forthcoming, and I think it was just a hopeful appeal really. It would have been a 10-metre penalty should it have been given. Here's Yates again, latest scorer on a mazy run forward once more. Yates all the way across, and well, Kean Skelton just couldn't quite sort his feet out in time as it flashed right by him.
Yeah, Yates did really well again to not only win the ball back in the defensive position, but then to drive his team up court and work that opportunity for the ball across the box.
Strong challenge, and it wasn't a good one. Keen caution for that too, unsurprisingly.
Yeah, he's been excellent today, Keane, though, and I mean, he was very good yesterday in the afternoon game.
Yeah, I think you're seeing, the things that he's good at is in terms of his physicality, his intensity, and his competitiveness, and the passion that he's showing today really drives him through at the next level up. And I think what Dave and Danny and East Riding as a club will want is for these younger players to then learn the tactical and the technical side of the game, and over the next 12 to 18 months see them improving that element.
Wasteful on that occasion from the set piece from here in town, misfiring directly from it. Bast. Heavy touch from Hurd. Then into the East Riding substitutes bench.
I mean, so far they haven't used Danny Clark in his extra time. Do you see them maybe holding him for the second half?
Yeah, potentially. I'm not sure if he's picked up or not, but it might be that they've made the decision that first five he gets a full break, and that they can utilise him in the second half of extra time.
Corner kick. As the pressure again mounts on Jordan Wildey's goal. Hanaway forwards again, lofting it forwards again.
Yeah, I'm not sure he needed to go direct there. They had a 3v1 on the halfway line and just worked the ball into a wider, higher, more positive position before they looked to finalise.
Hanaway with the miscontrol, needs to get back quickly as well, but in the end East Riding will just settle to take the sting out of the game.
Yeah, maybe that's the reason he went direct first time round. Poor first touch there in a higher, wider, more positive position, but we did work the ball well.
Yeah, maybe he was thinking about the next pass before it secured the ball first.
Maybe he overheard us having a go at him. Well, me anyway.
Given away there, loose. Pacos. Forward from Dast, but only again to Keane. Final minutes of the first half of extra time now, and still the game remains level, but both sides have scored in this extra time period. Hurd. Bast pleading with Hurd for the ball. Eventually it came his way. Towner. Sustained period of possession now. This is proving to be for Kent.
Yeah, Kent now doing what I would have hoped they would have done at 4-3, which is control the game, keep possession, and dictate play. They seem to revert back to a more direct approach when they've scored that fourth goal, and it's actually probably played against them. They look really composed and comfortable in possession, and like I say, it's probably disappointing from their point of view that they didn't do that when they went 4-3 up and gave away a cheap fourth goal.
Kent now dropping back, and East Riding time and space inside their own half, just to check with the shoulder at the clock as well before it's eventually sent long, and it's a comfortable take in the end for the Kent goalkeeper. And that's the end of the first period of extra time. Still level then, Louis. Both sides, as I say, having scored in this extra time period, and when Kent scored they must have thought that they were well on their way then, but immediately it changed. Jack Yates, brilliant goal. 4-4.
Yeah, I mean, two very high quality goals in that half there. the header. I mean, that was really driven in and loads of pace, and the goalkeeper very little reaction time. And then, you know, the East Riding equaliser, that was something special, because to produce something of that quality this deep into the game, you know, that was something that I think we'll remember for a long time. But with 5 minutes to go, Stuart, I mean, Kent United on 5 fouls, that may still be a factor. And obviously Danny Clark now, you'd expect to see him probably come into the game.
Yeah, I think so. And what you might find in the next 5 minutes for East Riding is that they try and use the experience of Danny Clark to try and draw that 5th foul. You know, he does use his body really well, and you know, if Kent get drawn into that physical battle, you know, and I think they may find themselves come unstuck a little bit, and potentially give a 10 metre away. From Kent's point of view, I think what we saw in the last 30 seconds is exactly what they probably need to do for the rest of the 5 minutes, which is try and, like I say, compose the game, get the ball players on it, use the framework that they've been playing through. You know, find themselves in possession, comfortable, controlled possession, and try and stay away from the frantic end-to-end game that East Riding are obviously sort of quite happy to play. You know, Kent have probably got slightly more ability in a couple of their individuals to dictate the game, and I think they really need to utilise those. Having said that, they did only use 5 or 6 players in that first 5 minutes, so again, like we talked about at the end of the normal time, that, you know, legs and tiredness may play a part.
Yeah, a factor, of course, to emphasise again, re-emphasise, is that Kent are on 5 fouls. East Riding threatening that again on 4, but very much different feel to when, if they do move on to 5. Bolton there forward to Clark, who is now back on for East Riding. Yates couldn't get past Hurd.
East Riding being a little bit more patient there, and I think, you know, straight from kick-off you saw Danny Clark sort of just use his hands and say, look, be patient, no, let's not go chasing now. You might find the defender a little bit deeper.
Chadley all the way up to Clark. The referee says no foul.
It was a great ball forward by Chadley, and to be honest, I think he probably was a foul, but we all know the referees changed the criteria for the 6th foul. Hopefully we see a GBH and we might actually see a 10-metre penalty.
We're looking for smoking guns, are we?
Yeah, it seems that's the criteria for a sixth foul in England. You know, we see some really soft ones in the first 10-15 minutes of a game, and then as we get to this point in the game, and the referees seem to avoid making those crucial decisions that ultimately, you know, we want consistency throughout. Not that I'm still better from this morning, by the way.
Referee just halting things there as it was sent in. But the referee is moving the defensive wall back, and Danny Clark can't quite believe that.
I think he's in more disbelief that he played a successful pass in actually what the referee did.
He's dropped to his knees there, Danny Clark. It was finished off by Jack Yates, albeit the Kent defence did stop. Then struck goal bound, but only straight at Hanaway. Dast. Clark again, involved in the action, of course. Chadley disrupted by Hurd. That's how to play though for the corner. And Hurd's been sent tumbling over the advertising boards.
Carl Wilkinson with the straight red tackle there.
Again an acute angle, but it's sent in there from Clark. Hurd. Now Charlie Dask, can he conjure up another moment of magic? Hurd might. Blocked though by Clark, vitally.
Yeah, really good movement there from Charlie Dask. He threatened to run to the second post, and then as the defender bit on the run, he checked himself off on a little diagonal, and then Steve Hurd did exactly the same, and it created the shooting opportunity. Good movement from those two players there.
Well, whatever happens from here on in, we're going to have late drama. Whether that be here in extra time or with the dreaded penalty shootout. Yates. And a little step over, trying to work a route past Kent's captain Hurd. Well defended though, and Hurd then happy to see it all the way behind.
Yeah, Scott Hurd and Charlie Dast, I don't think they've been off in this entire extra time. They're starting to look a little bit real leggy. You know, Scott Hurd taking some real deep breaths there.
But you can't see them coming off though. They're just going to see this through now, aren't they?
Yeah, I would have thought so. Unless the game gets a little bit too end to end and they exert that little bit too much energy, they might need 30 seconds.
Dast across to Scott Hurd. Blocked away.
We talked about it before as well. There are opportunities for players to get, you know, breathers in possession, and I think Kent have probably been a little bit better at it than East Riding throughout the game. And, you know, keeping that possession for 30 seconds can often give you a little bit of a breather.
Dast with the roll back there, trying to feed the ball back to Scott Hurd into his path. Yates. Yerkstis. Yates again. Closing in now on the final 2 minutes of extra time. It's Yates! Oh! Jack Yates has done it again for East Riding, with the goal in the first half of extra time, and now finding the net in the second as well.
Yeah, he's really grown in confidence since he scored the goal at the end of normal time, and he set his defender up for the 1v1. He's threatened to go down the line, and he dragged it back, and again another great strike, found the bottom corner, and you know he's really come up trumps for East Riding in these last 10 minutes.
Yeah, again, pure power there, and I really loved his patience, just to wait for that key moment. He found the gap and finished brilliantly, but here we go with Fly.
Yeah, I think there was a really good bit of movement in there for number 11 from East Riding as well. He just created the space for Yates to drive inside.
Inevitably, Fly goalkeeper now. Here for Kent, they have player in the middle there, Dash, just occupying that central space. Gibbons. Skelton reintroduced for East Riding. He's on to replace starman Jack Yates. Certainly man of the moment twice in extra time for East Riding.
Kent making the decision to leave the outfield player in net there, which with what, a minute and 45 seconds to go, probably a little bit too early.
Kent here looking to break forward. Just caught the heels there of Scott Hurd. And that was the interception on the way through. And I think without that touch, it probably would have run through to Dast.
Yeah, Danny Clark uncharacteristically giving it away there quite cheaply and allowing Kent to transition forward. Looking forward to see whether George Gibbons has got anything in between the sticks, whether he's an outfield player or whether he's got a bit of a goalkeeping experience behind him. I think if you're East Riding, you're looking to test him nice and early. Another potential foul there.
Yeah, it wasn't given by either referee. Yeah, I feel there was a foul in there. Same decision though. And that's a decision that wasn't forthcoming. Towner. Clark trying to take charge. Still such tense moments, aren't they now, Louis?
Yeah, well, we saw in Stuart's game, you know, the last couple of minutes, anything can happen, and you know, this minute could be a very, very long minute.
Yeah, I think you'll see the ball going out of play quite a lot potentially. It might last a little bit longer than the 60 seconds that are actually on the clock.
Yeah, just caught the stanchion of the goal there, Connor Taylor, rather than the post or crossbar. George Gibbons forward as the Fly goalkeeper again. It's now or never territory for Kent. Back across, but East Riding will clear only momentarily. The pressure still will come back.
Yeah, Kent will want to be careful that they don't force it into that corner too quickly. Really want to try and create a weak side of defence before you do that.
To the back stick, big opportunity, and they've scored! And it's Charlie Dast again, the hero for Kent United, and it looks as though we might be heading to penalties.
Yeah, Charlie Dast the goal scorer, but I think all credit to Kieran Towner. As the ball comes out to him, I think a lot of players would take the shot on there, and he finds an unbelievable diagonal pass. And it's not only does he find the pass, it's the quality that he does it with. You know, he gives Charlie Dast every opportunity to either take the shot first time, control it, and round the goalkeeper like he did. Great composure on the finish, but like I say, I think credit goes to Towner there for finding that pass.
Well, is there still time for another? That one ricochets through, back to the goalkeeper Hanaway. Long forward again here for Dast. Kent, in the heat of it all, still need to be careful, remember that they are still on 5 fouls, so just with the intensity rising higher and higher, always the potential to just concede a needless one at this sort of situation. Clark with the header, all the way out and behind.
Yeah, I think that might be the reason that Danny Clark's just been reintroduced. You know, 15 seconds to go, 17 seconds to go. If he can get the ball into him, he'll try and use his body to draw a foul and hope that the referees decide to give it.
Yeah, takes that one back to Towner. Into the final 10 seconds, given away there to Keane. And Lewis Riding get the kick in.
I feel this ball is going to go straight into Danny Clark.
Yeah, I think they'll probably try and put it right down the throat of the goalkeeper and hope that it takes a deflection or somebody can get something on it and catch him off guard.
Yeah, seemingly going to go long and direct, and who can blame them at this stage? In there to Chadley, whose eyes just lit up for a moment. Clark, but there's the buzzer. And indeed it will be the dreaded penalties, the spot kicks, to decide who will here be crowned champions of the Men's Plate Cup competition. Well, it's a 10-goal thriller, and ultimately the 10 goals shared equally. 5-5 the final score. Louis, catch your breath, what did you make of that?
Well, I think overall, over the 50 minutes, we're probably in the right place with this. It's really hard to pick a winner at the start, and I think we're back down to it's going to be the players from 6 metres that are going to decide this game now. I think it was really, really hard to try and say one team was that much better than the other in this game.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think it's probably a fair result on the contrast of the whole game. I think both teams had moments where they probably dominated and were on top and built pressure. I think, you know, both teams had times where they looked a little bit tired, probably made some poorer decisions in possession. But, you know, I think the amount of effort and commitment that both teams have shown, they probably deserve to be, you know, in with a shout of still winning this, and we go down to penalties, which is a lottery for both teams.
Goalkeeper David Hanaway just talking to the match officials in the centre circle as well. An opportunity perhaps for one of the two goalkeepers to make themselves a hero here in the penalty shootout. Always have such a big part to play, and maybe that will be the case here as well.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting because, you know, we don't have too many extra time and penalty shootouts in futsal competitions, and it'll be interesting to get Stuart's perspective on this. But how many of these players have actually ever been in a proper shootout in a futsal competition? And you know, it looks easy from 6 metres, but it's not.
Yeah, 100%. You know, it's not a situation that I would imagine many of these, if any of them, have been involved in. You know, I've been playing futsal since roughly about 2009, and I think I've only really been involved in maybe 2 penalty shootouts. Unfortunately, the last one I was involved in was at St George's Park, and we lost. I won't mention who missed the penalty, mainly because it was me. But yeah, you know, like I say, somebody's going to miss, or somebody's going to be the reason why a team doesn't win. And unfortunately, that's just the way it is. But you know, it's no reflection on any of the players. You know, both sets of players have you know, handled themselves really well today and put on a great performance for the crowd and the watching people at home.
Well, here there will be a hero. but still we'll wait to find out whether it will be East Riding or Kent United to get their hands on the silverware following this penalty shootout after such an enthralling long game all the way through extra time as well. 3-3 at the end of the regulation period, 5-5 to take us to penalties. And to go first here for Kent, it's Harry Gibbons. Up against goalkeeper Jordan Wildey.
I mean, one thing that can happen in futsal where you've got two goalkeepers in your team, you can swap the goalkeepers, you can interchange them in the penalty shootout, unlike football.
Yeah, it seems like there's just a discussion going on with the referees in the centre circle. One of the things that I learnt recently is that you don't have to submit the list of penalty takers as long as a player hasn't already taken a penalty. You can go in any order.
I think also what's got to happen is that because Kent United have got a bigger squad, they've got to decide who is going to drop out of this penalty shootout because the teams have to be level. So I think how many of
4 extra players Kent have named in their squad. So I think that's the situation that's just being attended to at the moment. Paul Waitley is the third official. I think he's just received the names of the players that won't be involved in the shootout, by the looks of things anyway. But being made to wait here, Harry Gibbons, and maybe that just increases the pressure on his shoulders.
Yeah, often techniques on penalties from goalkeepers can be different to a football technique. A lot of goalkeepers will just take one step to the side and hope that that it hits them. Some keepers like to split save and try and save the low one, so we'll see how both keepers deal with it today.
Here we go then, Harry Gibbons from the penalty spot and manages to just about sneak it past Wildey. Perfect start though for Kent in the shootout.
Yeah, Jordan Wilder really unlucky there. He went the right way, just couldn't quite get his body across in time.
Yeah, he just turned there, didn't he, on that?
Danny Clarkman here for East Riding, and it's saved! Clark denied from the penalty spot. An advantage, Kent.
Yeah, I'm not sure East Riding would have thought that Danny would be the first player to miss. He's so adept in front of goal. I think one of the things as an outfield player, what you really want to try and do with the distance being so small is put as much power on it as you can and not necessarily pick a spot.
Gibbons, it's saved again! And now the ball back in East Riding's court. Luca Chadley stepping up next here for East Riding. Can he succeed from the penalty spot into left-footed penalty kick? Yes, he can. One each. And both sides have taken 2.
Yeah, keeper looked like he committed a little bit too early there, and he really made the decision to go the other way quite easy. Jordan Wiley's gone, obviously saved one, but he's gone close with the other one as well. So he'll be feeling confident that he can get something on this.
Stepping forward here to take the weight of the pressure on his shoulders, it's the captain, Scott Hurd. Scored Kent's first goal, that seems like a long time ago now. Here he is, right-footed this time, what a penalty. No stopping that one.
Yeah, that's the penalty you're looking for, nice and high, nice and hard, really make it difficult for the goalkeepers if they go low. Even if you get hands on it, it's very difficult to save. Great penalty there.
Yeah, the problem for the goalkeepers there is just to get their hands up high enough, quick enough from 6 metres, and it's virtually impossible.
Jack Yates, the extra time hero for East Riding. Can he be the hero from the penalty spot? It's not a dissimilar penalty. Again, absolutely rifled into the back of the net.
That's a tremendous strike.
Yeah, it's not the first one we've seen coming this afternoon. But I think they've written the script there as to the best way to take the penalties is high, hard, and hopefully handsome.
Bruno Santos now for Kent. Up against Wildey. Santos, it's saved again! Jordan Wildey with his second stop of the shootout.
Again, as an outfielder there, he's put it at that height where he's aiming at the big part of the goalkeeper. Really, you want to be going really low, or you want to be going really high. Those middle areas are, you're favouring the goalkeeper.
Bogdan missed his 10-metre penalty, and he's missed from the 6-metre spot as well. Hanaway with his second stop of the shootout too. Both sides having taken 4 penalties, we're effectively into a sudden death situation now. Kieran Towner. Can Wildey come up with the goods again? It's Towner! And Wildey's made another stop! Well, this is unbelievable! 3 shootout saves for Jordan Wildey.
Yeah, I think we've seen the players who have tried to use the side of the foot and slot it past the goalkeeper. It's not. We're not. This isn't a football penalty. You're not 12 yards away. The goals aren't 8 foot wide. You really need to give you plenty of power.
Yerkstis! Oh, he's denied as well, with the opportunity to win it for East Riding, and Reynolds Yerkstis can't get the job done.
We are literally going all the way on this.
Maybe surprising not to have seen Charlie Das take one already.
Yeah, well, you're into the stage now when you're down to the players who didn't want to put themselves forward, or didn't put themselves forward at least for the first 5. Here, Charlie Dast. Stuttering run up, Dast! He does score! And Kent United are now just 1 away.
I mean, we've been out here for nearly 2.5 hours now, so I mean, this has been a marathon game, and is it all going to be decided on this penalty?
I almost forgot that I subbed in for Matt Hardy at half-time.
Keane has to score, and it's saved by Hanaway, and Kent United celebrates. It's an awful way for East Riding to lose on such a big occasion, but just look at what it means for Kent. Finally, eventually, we have a winner. And in the National Futsal Series Men's Plate Cup competition, it's Kent United. Unbelievable, Louis.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where it's probably neither team really deserved to lose today, but unfortunately, it's a final and we need a winner. And it just came down to the 6 metres. I think both teams can look back at the performances they put in to get themselves here and to get themselves the penalty shootout. And ultimately, one penalty has decided this. But I think both teams have given us a great game, especially in the extra time.
Such a horrible way to lose as well, Stuart. It's an awful moment for East Riding, but one which hopefully they can build from as well, and taking the greater context of things, because they've had a good season in reaching this stage too. But for Kent, it's celebrations. What did you make of the game overall in the second half that you joined us for?
Yeah, like I said earlier, I thought both teams were excellent. I thought there was some really good futsal on display. There was different aspects to the game. We had periods of possession and good framework play, and we had some really entertaining end-to-end frantic transitions. Some really good emergency defending, blocks on the line. I thought both goalkeepers were excellent. We've seen some really good goals, and like you say, probably really unfortunate that we've had to have a loser today, and in the way that it happens. But like I say, from a personal point of view, I've been in the position of East Riding, and both in terms of Alex Keane missing that sort of deciding penalty, but he's had an excellent weekend. Thought he was quality yesterday, and he should be proud of his performances.
Well, stick around, because we'll have the trophy presentations here coming next, as Kent United will get their hands on the silverware. For East Riding, it's such a horrible way to fall to defeat. 2 thrilling games so far, with the 5-4 victory for Southampton Athletic earlier today, as they beat Bolton B 5-4. And here, after the 5-5 draw, the penalty shootout winners, Kent United, in spectacular, stunning fashion. But in the end, it's Kent who get the job done. Louis, One final question for you. You've got to pick the player of the match. Who are you going to go for?
Right, this was not an easy one, but I kind of think from what he did, the way he turned the game around, for me, although he's not in the winning team, the player of the match for me was Jack Yates. He really did grab the game by the scruff of the neck, and he gave the momentum. I'm not sure whether Stuart would agree with that, obviously, because he's been here with the second half, but I think based on that performance I saw from Jack Yates today, and he's definitely a player, and his penalty as well was top class.
Yeah, I think he was excellent. He really came on in extra time as well, and like you say, made the difference for his riding. I think across the board they were excellent. I thought, Charlie Dast and Scott Hurd were really good, but everyone put in a real good performance out there today. But no issues with Yates being the man of the match. Thought he was quality.
Kent United end their season in the perfect fashion. It wasn't the season really that they wanted it to be, having been relegated from Tier 1 of course last campaign. They'll be staying in Tier 2 for next season, but they've earned themselves some silverware. Still have 2 more games to bring to you, of course. It's only halfway through finals day 2. We'll have the National Futsal Series Women's Tier 1 playoff final over on BT Sport 1 with a kick-off time of 2 p.m. as Bloomsbury face London Helvetia. And then it's the big one, the showpiece event. Bloomsbury again in action up against Manchester in the men's Tier 1 playoff final. 5 p.m. is the all-important kick-off time for that one. As we are now ready for the on-court presentations, and first the match officials will step forward to take their medals. The presentation will continue for Kent United, and ultimately it's a day for Kent to celebrate, and an excellent way, Louis, for them to get over the line. It's such elation at the end of a game like that.
Yeah, I think these moments are really difficult for the losing team, but Kent United, who suffered a relegation from Tier 1, but I think they'll sort of see that this is sort of justified of what they're trying to do now, and rebuild their future and hopefully mount a challenge to get back into Tier 1. But I think for East Riding, I think we've seen enough of them to know that they can definitely compete at this level and beyond. And it was just fine margins today. We've seen in all these games so far that fine margins will be the decider moments in the game, and but neither team could put each other away in the regulation 50 minutes. That was the problem. They just couldn't get enough distance between themselves to have a comfortable gap to control the game. So if they were in the front, if they were leading, they were trying to protect that lead, and if they were behind, you're trying to get back on top of the game. So it was just really cagey, but I think overall, it's a tough one. It's down to who was the best over 6 metres, and today it was Kent United's day.
Some of the Bloomsbury women's team players just stepping onto the court as well to begin their pre-match preparations and warm-ups. East Riding step forward for their runners-up medals. It's not the silverware that they wanted, but boy were they close to it. And perhaps for that reason it will hurt and sting even more, and hurt for even longer. Great saves in the shootout as well from Jordan Wilder, who will feel so hard done by after a penalty shootout. Series of saves like that to be on the wrong side of the scoreline come the end of it.
And fair play to the players. That is difficult to step up. They probably wouldn't have practiced that too many times, and for some of them that might have been the first time ever in a futsal penalty shootout. And I can assure people watching, especially new coaches, that goal just disappears into nothing. And when you think about this, a futsal goal is 1/3 the size of a normal football goal, but the goalkeepers are the same size. So that's how difficult it is.
Yeah, well, as the presentations continue, the Kent players step forward and they will get their hands on the trophy. Thank you very much for joining us today. Really appreciate you tuning in to take in the first 2 games of the day, and very much hope that you'll stick around for the big 2, the final 2 games, the main 2 finals. Up next, the Women's Super Series Tier 1 playoff final, of course. But here, it's Kent's coronation. Congratulations. Goodbye.